Episode 18 starts in the lair with Selena Gomez's dad teaching them a spell that allows them to stop time, but they can only stop time for as long as they can hop on one foot. The explanation of it is that the inventor of the spell only had one leg. So they have to hop around on one foot, and if they get like a Charlie horse or something, they and have to stand on their other foot, time goes back to happening at normal rate. So lo and behold, this becomes important later on. So there are two main plots in this one. Selena Gomez has, I guess, the main plot here. She decides that she wants to be a fashion designer, a thoroughly non-magical job, but she decides to take this internship with a fashion magazine, or I don't know if it's a magazine or what. But she immediately impresses them with her brilliant ideas. Her idea for this fashion for fashion for the fall is what if we make summer colors work in the fall? And they're like, oh, this is brilliant. How could anyone ever think of such a thing? And everybody's so impressed, and they're like, okay, let's work on making summer colors work in the fall. So she ingratiates herself with the boss, and everything sort of is looking up for her. But then her immediate boss takes credit for it with the upper level management. He's like, yeah, I had this great idea. And she's like, what? That was my idea. And the boss is like an asshole to her and is like, well, you know what? You work for me, so it's my idea. So she decides to sabotage him by having him take credit for her next idea, which is going to be terrible. And so she goes to Harper for some help. If you recall, Harper has goofy ass fashion. She makes most of her own clothes. Sometimes she dresses up as like a strawberry. So she ends up enlisting Harper to make clothes for the models, and so they're terrible. They're just really awful, goofy ass fashion. As the upper level boss says when she encounters Harper, who's this girl dressed as a preschooler? Because her clothes are absurd. But Selena Gomez decides to have a fashion show with all of this fashion. And then I guess at the last minute, she changes her mind. She's like, you know what? I actually do want this to reflect well upon myself. So I'm going to change this fashion. So she freezes time at the very last second as the models are getting ready to walk on. And she's hopping around on one foot, trying to change their costumes. But then she gets a Charlie horse and then has to stand on her other foot. So she's not completely done with the costume changes. But I guess it still works out okay because they walk down the runway in their half ripped clothes. And the boss's boss is sort of kind of impressed when Selena Gomez explains, yeah, this is fashion for people who aren't fashionable. And like, oh, yeah, that's an okay idea. So it all works out for Selena Gomez in the end, as usual, even though she got in all kinds of mischief and was trying to do things for bad reasons. Meanwhile, back at Waverly Place, Selena Gomez's twink brother has his own little adventure. So Selena Gomez's parents, who run the sub shop, end up hiring a new employee. And she is a pretty teenage girl. And Selena Gomez's twink brother is immediately infatuated with her. And so he is trying to flirt with her. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll train you. And he's trying to go out on a date with her, even though like he is her boss's son and is training her and is trying to get her to go out with him. This is completely inappropriate for a new employee. Like, this is one of the problems with family owned businesses. A lot of the time, there's a huge imbalance of power where the son of the owners is trying to commit sexual harassment against one of the new employees, and there's no sort of accountability for it. But she takes it in stride apparently, and her Selena Gomez's little brother is like trying to play wingman, but is absolutely terrible about it, and is like, yeah, he plays with action figures, isn't that cool? Which like he's not trying to be malicious, but it doesn't work out. But the new employee is kind of impressed and is like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool that you have action figures. You want to come over to my place on Saturday night? I am going to this concert with this band that we both really like. He's like, oh yeah, I'll come over. So it turns out in the end, she's having him come over to babysit her little brother while she goes out on a date with her boyfriend to the concert. So I guess it works out, even though he's using his family influence as her boss to try to get her to go out on a date. I guess it works out, but like, don't do that. Come on, who do you think you are? In episode 19, Selena Gomez's parents are out of town, so Selena Gomez's twink brother is in charge. Well, he, being a huge nerd and the responsible one in the family, decides that he wants to make sure that they all study. They study really hard. He's in charge of learning now, and so he's going to quiz them on a bunch of stuff. They have to do all this homework. Well, Selena Gomez is like, fuck that, I'm out. And she just like walks out, and he has no way to stop her, which kind of pisses him off because he's supposed to be in charge. He's the oldest. But little brother, I guess, sort of listens to him. Little brother doesn't really do anything important in this episode. But Selena Gomez just decides to go out on a date with her boyfriend. This is the same boyfriend she got by rigging baseball games. She's been going out with him for a little while now. But she and her boyfriend are walking down the street, and she sees him like look at another girl, and she gets like really jealous, and it's like, how dare you look at another girl? And apparently this is a pattern for her, because it's like, why are you always so jealous? She's like, well, you'd be jealous too if I were not somebody else. And so eventually this turns into a huge argument about how she's really, really jealous for no really good reason. And so he ends up breaking up with her. And she's like really pissed. Like, how dare he break up with me just because I confront him about looking at people? But obviously, there are going to be deeper problems in their relationship if he is, or if she's that jealous about petty little shit. But what she decides to do is she's going to make him jealous. So she's walking down the street, and she walks by a store that has a mannequin on it. And she decides, you know what? I'm going to make myself a boyfriend. I'm going to turn that mannequin into a human. So she uses the spell that they learned a little while back about animating inanimate objects and making them alive. So he makes the mannequin alive. Well, one of the lessons that her twink brother was trying to teach them during his lessons that she skipped out on is that if you animate objects for too long, they develop feelings and an emotional attachment to the person who animated them. So she ignored this whole lesson to her peril, and she's going out with this mannequin that she turned into a living person, whom she calls Manny, which is a little bit too on the nose. But she's going out with him in order to make her now ex, jealous. And of course, this bites her in the ass. Manny has no sense of decorum. He doesn't understand things like how to use a straw. He doesn't understand what it's like to be alive. But she goes and she introduces him to her twink brother. Blah blah blah. It works in making her ex jealous. He comes in and is like trying to confront Manny and like, that's my girlfriend. Actually, you broke up with her like an hour ago. But meanwhile, Selena Gomez's twink brother is obsessing over his action figures. So I guess he's trying to sell them on eBay or something. And one of his favorite ones is Calico Woman. And so she basically is a superhero who dresses in a cat costume, which best kind of superhero is a cat. Ray Harry, Harry thinks that the best kind of superhero is a cat. But they, so basically, Selena Gomez decides that, well, in order to make Manny stop obsessing over her, he's like bringing her flowers and stuff all the time. Won't let her out of his sight. She wants to get back with her ex, who now has been like, "I'm sorry, I broke up with you. I regret it. Let's get back together." She wants to, but Manny won't stop bothering her. So what she decides to do is make him a girlfriend in Calico Girl. So he goes and like Selena Gomez goes and animates this Calico Girl action figure and tries to set her up with Manny. Well, of course, she didn't ask for her twink brother's permission to do this, and he's trying to keep it in mint condition and everything. But anywho, it turns into this big chase. It's like, I don't know, it should be set to yakety sax, but they're running through the streets, and it's like, well, we're gonna get caught for this. So basically, what happens is they make this huge scene in front of the whole everybody on the street that's like gonna reveal that they're wizards. There's a dunk tank, and I guess eventually Manny ends up getting pushed into the dunk tank, and then apparently the water in the dunk tank undoes the magic and makes him into a mannequin who has been like has arms and legs and stuff removed, and the arms and legs are just like floating there in the dunk tank, and they somehow pass it off as like, look, this was a magic trick, and people on the street buy it. So again, it works out okay, and there are no real consequences to this, even though they violated the statute of secrecy. Selena Gomez did magic that she shouldn't have done, and would have known not to do if she had just listened to her twink brother. But I guess it all works out okay in the end.